Nestled in the picturesque landscapes of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Punjab's countryside lies something bleary and unattractive. Hidden villages you may never have heard of. Villages where hardworking farmers under the scorching sun, arid land, and harsh weather have for decades battled low yields and failed crops. All their dreams, their livelihoods, and in fact their very lives looking awfully bleak and under threat. But the farmers still had hope. Hope in their eyes and prayers in their hearts. Would those prayers be answered? Would fate change? The green revolution in agriculture had taken care of wheat and rice. The white revolution took care of milk production. What was needed was another revolution, a revolution with innovation and technology. And when it came, it was called the Yellow Revolution. These villages and the farmers seized the opportunity with determination. They began regenerating their land with new knowledge and modern farming methods. Women and men worked tirelessly in their fields from dawn to dusk to make their dreams come true. The barren fields of yesteryear became a golden sea of mustard blooms as far as the eye could see. Very DDLJ, don't you think? The farmers now stand tall amidst their thriving fields with smiles as bright as the sun. And it's not just yellow. There have been many revolutions in India's agricultural history, each with its own color. The colors of a rainbow that appear in the sky after it rains. Each color represents a story of how rural India, agricultural India, the India that feeds us, has turned around its fortune. Welcome to a century of stories brought to you by IDFC FIRST Bank. Always you first. And today, I'll tell you the story of how these colors have brought the Indian countryside to life. I'd like to mention a name, Sam Pitroda. Are you familiar with him? Well, in the Indian policy scene, he's something of a celebrity. But in this instance, when India was struggling with an edible oil shortage in the late 80s, Sam Pitroda thought, hey, let's do something about this. This is simply what the Yellow Revolution was. The objective behind the revolution was to achieve self-reliance. He enabled farmers to increase the production of edible oil seeds in the country to meet the domestic demand by simply introducing better seeds. It changed everything. This one step boosted rural economies and lowered our reliance on foreign oil. Self-reliance 101. So the next time you use mustard oil in your cooking, remember, Sam Pitroda may have contributed to how tasty your food is. Let's change colors like chameleons now. पीली से काली में चलते हैं. Ever heard about the Black Revolution? No? For that, we need to travel back to the year 1975. India started looking into alternative fuels and they tried making ethanol from sugarcane and molasses. Of course, this was achieved, and now the use of ethanol-blended fuels is on the rise, and biofuels in general are closer than we think. Time to say bye-bye to petrol. No, I don't know about that, but I do know that it turns trash into something useful and it cuts down on pollution and greenhouse gases. And that is something we can all agree with. There is also a national policy on biofuels 2018, where they are eyeing non-edible oilseeds for these purposes. These crops thrive even in barren lands where nothing else dares to grow. So who knew? The Black Revolution isn't just about petroleum. It's about paving the way for a greener, more sustainable future, one drop of biofuel at a time. Kali Pili done? Let's move on to another revolution now. Something a little more contemporary and visible around us. Have you noticed a more plentiful variety of fruit and vegetable in your local market? Think avocados and oyster mushrooms and infused wild forest honeys. These are the result of the golden revolution of the 1990s. Greenhouse cultivation, hydroponics, and tissue cultures changed the game by helping farmers get around problems like soil, climate change, and not having enough water. The rise in productivity not only ended food shortages, imports were slashed, and the economy was stabilized. A huge turning point in India's agricultural history. Shall we call it the golden era of agriculture? Talking of gold, let's move on to what I feel is liquid gold, a good cup of coffee. The thing is, a lesser-known agricultural movement called the Brown Revolution has been quietly brewing in the tribal areas of Visakhapatnam. Demand for coffee is growing and we can supply it sustainably. Thankfully, consumers are becoming more and more aware of ethical and environmental issues. So coffee farmers are using methods like shade-grown coffee cultivation, which not only protects the ecosystem, but also makes the coffee beans taste better. Old meets new. Old-fashioned methods and environment protection for the future generation. Win-win, I say. India, of course, has beautiful, varied farming lands, but let's not forget that it has over 7,500 kilometers of coastline. And that's where the Blue Revolution or the Neel Kranti mission comes in. The main goal of this initiative was to make the best use of water resources for sustainable fisheries development. Nobody wanted the nation's fishermen to feel left out and blue. The mission found its feet in 1985, and the years following that led to the creation of fishing harbors in strategic locations like Visakhapatnam, Kochi, Tuticorin, Porbandar, and Port Blair. A lot was achieved. The Indian fisheries sector now produces 4.7 million metric tons of fish, when 50 years ago, it could only produce 60,000 metric tons. Our production of fish and fish products grows by 14.8% every year, which is higher than the global average of 7.5%. It has become India's biggest agricultural export in the last 5 years, with India exporting more fish than any country in the world, worth more than 47,000 crore rupees. Innovation, technology, and giving people more power in their communities have not only increased agricultural productivity, but also made people's lives better, given us food security, and promoted long-term growth. Now, I can go on and on and on and on. What about the silver revolution for eggs, the round revolution for potatoes, the pink revolution for meat, and the grey revolution for fertilizers, to count a few? Whatever the color may be, it is clear that these have had a lasting effect on the country's economy and on society in general, and on cuisine as well. You've been watching A Century of Stories, brought to you by IDFC FIRST Bank. Always you first. In the next episode, I'll tell you how रिश्तों के भी रूप बदलते हैं. Confused yet? You'll know the सही जवाब only when you tune in next week.
IVM